We are here at the Pocono Wildlife Rehabilitation Center in Stroudsburg, PA. Did I say that correctly? Kathy Uhler manages and operates the center. So thank you so much for inviting us here today.
Thank you for being here.
Now this is quite the operation. How did you get into wildlife rehabilitation?
When I was at college at East Stroudsburg University back in the late 70s, early 80s, I did an internship for my environmental studies certification that required me to be at a wildlife center. At least that's what I chose. I fell in love with it, and I immediately got licensed in the winter of 1982. So I've been licensed to do this since 1982.
So who funds this?
It's all privately funded by donations. We do have a few grants that we have applied for, but there are no taxpayer dollars that go into this facility.
And people can bring animals here if they find them. Are there certain animals that you don't take?
The only animals we don't take are domestic animals. We also do not prefer to take adult skunks because we don't want people handling them and they're difficult to work with. And we don't take adult deer.
Okay.
Because if a deer can't stand up, it should be euthanized. If it can stand up, they do way better if they're just left alone to heal.
Okay. Now you have lots of little animals in here, little birds, little squirrels. In fact, somebody brought in a squirrel that he found on the side of the road today.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about what's going to happen next with that squirrel, and then I want to hear about these animals and what you're doing, what their issues are.
All right. Well, we do take care of everything from hummingbirds to bears, so you're going to get to see a good cross-section of Pennsylvania's wildlife. First of all, I want to explain that this requires permitting. Eric? Thank you. Sorry, it's busy morning.
Oh, that's all right. We want to see
Mondays
what you do.
Mondays are very busy. We have to have permits from the Game Commission, and we have a mammal permit. We have a raptor permit, which are birds of prey. We have a all other birds permit. We have a rabies vector permit, and we have an endangered species permit. So all of those have to be held to take care of these animals. Then for all birds, we have to have a federal permit as well from U.S. Fish and Wildlife. Because we do educational programs, we're also licensed by the Department of Agriculture. So it's very heavily regulated because a lot of people wonder why make it so difficult, because you just want to help the animals.
Sure.
This is the day where we now know how to do it properly, and bad care sometimes is worse than no care, and it can cause suffering. So we do have to have a lot of training and a lot of education.
You have to know what you're doing.
You do, and it's dangerous for people as well.
Do you have to pay for those licenses?
A few of them have permit costs involved. The state ones, they waive all the fees.
Okay.
They're wonderful. Pennsylvania Game Commission's good about that.
So today we had a gentleman that drove an hour and a half because he found a little squirrel on the side of the road.
We cover 6 counties.
Really?
We do. There are not very many people licensed in our area. This is hard work. It's heavily regulated, and it doesn't pay money.
Okay.
So it's difficult to do, and it's really nice when people can come that far, because a lot of people are up to 2 hours away from us.
Well, that little guy's over here in one of the cages. Right. So why don't you tell us what's going to happen now?
Well, when we do an admission, he has to do paperwork. While he's doing paperwork, we're checking out the animal. You saw that we dusted him for fleas, because fleas can really drain an animal's health. So we dusted him for fleas. You saw that we got him some hydration, some subcutaneous fluids. And now the next thing you'll see is we start him on quarter to half strength formula. In his case, he's not in bad shape, so he can start on half strength formula. He'll be on half strength formula for today, and then tomorrow we'll go to 3/4 strength, and the next day we will give him full strength squirrel formula.
Now you mentioned that you actually buy the formula from somebody who makes it and provides it. But you showed me a bucket that costs $200. How do you afford that?
Well, some of it we buy, and this year social media is really wonderful. We have a wonderful group of Facebook fans, and I have an Amazon.com wish list. And we also put on funds for formula out there. Anybody who donated $100 got a license plate. Anybody who donated $500 gets a free program of their choice anywhere in eastern Pennsylvania.
Okay, good.
So there are incentives, and we've had some generous people. We have enough formula probably to get through June at least right now. So, if we've just had people who've come through for us this year.
Good. Well, the animals need that.
They do. We probably spend $3,000 a year just on formula.
Wow. Well, talk to me about these animals.
Okay.
What do we have? I see this teeny little chipmunk down
we
here.
have little squirrels. These things here are their feeding times, and we put initials so that everybody knows what everybody else is doing, and any other notes. So we have medication notes and things like that there. And because they're wet erase, you can just... All of these tanks have heat with a thermostat. So they're little incubators. They're not just tanks, but they're set up to be incubators. The heat is on this side of the tank, so that's why the babies
why they
are on
lay
that
there,
side.
yeah.
Right, and they can get off it if they want to. We also have foods for them. So in this case, they have Cheerios, what we call squirrel mix, which is nuts and seeds, and it's a woodpecker mix. Monkey biscuits and apples, all of which, again, we have to obtain. The newspapers are in there so we can keep things clean. And that's how we have, everybody's basically housed in a general kind of way that way. We have a chipmunk in here who was bitten by a dog. And he has a little leg injury, but come on, buddy. He's starting to feel better. He's got a little leg injury. Just, it's not broken, but it's bruised. So,
Oh,
chipmunks are very cute.
they're adorable.
The acorns we actually got on eBay.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we bought like hundreds of pounds of acorns because they like them better than store-bought mixed nuts, and they're actually cheaper.
Okay.
So
So ideally, you're gonna rehab these animals.
this one's going back to the wild in a few days. You saw he's feeling better.
Okay.
Some of them can't go back to the wild. This little guy has no eyes. He was born without eyes. This is a problem that we see in the wild, sometimes from pesticide use. Congenital blindness happens.
So is this because maybe like somebody is using pesticides in their yard? Are
Could
they
well be.
close to
Oh,
construction
yeah.
sites?
Well, and there are homeowner chemicals that are pretty dangerous.
Okay.
We hope people are reading labels very carefully. But he lives with us. He's an education ambassador because he's pretty comfortable as long as you don't change his furniture around too much. So he's pretty good. You might be wondering what the magnets are about.
Oh,
I was, yeah.
Red, blue.
We change the magnets over as we feed. Red means fed.
Okay.
So everything that's red has been done today. Everything that's blue I still need to do.
Okay.
And then I'll flip them all over in the afternoon when I do them again, and blue will be through.
Okay. So that's just how you keep track of it.
Yeah, it helps when you have a lot of animals and you're moving things around a lot.
So you have a lot of squirrels. Why so many squirrels?
It's springtime. There are two squirrel seasons. One is March and April, the other is August.
Okay.
So we get a lot of squirrels, and we have a lot of bunnies over there. I have them separated because it's easier to remember. But we just released a whole bunch of squirrels, so
Okay.
this is pretty modest. And we have some volunteers who raise squirrels in their houses for us.
Nice.
They're sub-permittees.
Okay.
So a lot of our animals aren't even here. Up here I have a dove with a broken wing. Now you know why we can't keep them covered.
So she doesn't
Yes.
freak out.
They're not used to people. So she has a wrap on her wing. We had tough to learn how to bandage wings because we don't want to take anything to the vet that we don't have to take. It's very stressful for them. So unless they need surgery, we take care of them here.
So what will happen with her? Will she heal?
We will take the wrap off shortly. I'll show you a bird that we just took the wrap off. And then we have to do physical therapy because the wing is now, just like with people, after you have a cast off, you have to do physical therapy to rebuild muscles. And then they go into an outdoor flight enclosure for pre-release conditioning, and then they get released.
How much of the care can you do yourself versus how often do you have to call a veterinarian?
Geez, probably only 1% of the time do we call a vet. At this point, with 35 years of experience in, I'm pretty capable of wrapping wings and diagnosing what antibiotic to use. So it's really surgery. It's mainly surgery that we ask, or poisoning if something comes out of poisoning. Maybe we need blood testing done.
Okay.
Other than that,
Do you have to pay for that, or do you have people
we
who can
have an
donate
awesome, wonderful veterinarian at Wright's Veterinary Medical Center in Bethlehem.
Okay.
They have been incredibly generous with their time and their skill. They have several vets there that can do surgery on birds.
that? Okay.
It's wonderful.
Lots of good resources.
It is a
sounds
great
like.
resource. Down here we have a robin. That's the one that just got his wing wrap off. You can see his right wing is hanging down a bit,
Yeah.
but it healed very well. I still have to clean him. You told me not to clean, so I didn't clean. So, and you notice he has paper towels on
Yes.
top. That is because they slip on the newspaper, and newspaper isn't very absorptive. So,
Okay.
to keep the birds clean, we go
Paper
through
towels.
probably 15 rolls of paper towels a week.
Wow. Okay.
So, this is a little possum that came to us that fell out of its mom's couch. It's a girl.
Look at that.
So you can see that she
Look at
has
those
what
little
will be a
hands.
little pouch right there. You can kind of see where it'll be.
How sweet.
So she is lapping possum formula from a dish and walking through it at this time. So we'll
And
be
she's
cleaning
hissing
it.
at you now
Yes,
too.
which is good. Yeah, they open their mouth and
Yeah.
So, and these are our bigger squirrels.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we have quite a few bigger squirrels in here.
Look at that one. He's sawing them off.
Yeah.
He's taking his afternoon nap.
Yep. So,
So when can you release them? How old do they have to be?
these guys will be inside for another 2 weeks.
Okay.
And then they will go into an outside cage to get conditioning and climbing experience and all that. And then we release them.
Okay.
Then we have a bunch of bunnies. We just released 13 bunnies, but we have quite a few bunnies.
Where do you release them at? Do you have to take them to certain locations?
Anywhere where there's tall grass. This is a little guy that's in here with me.
Oh my goodness, look at that.
Yeah, he's waiting for his breakfast too.
Do you see this?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, how precious. How old is he?
He's got the hiccups. He is about, well, actually I have an age chart over there, so we can look at the age chart. Cedar waxwings were brought to us in the fall by somebody who raised them.
Okay.
And they raised them on fruit. Cedar waxwings as adult love fruit, but baby birds need protein and calcium. They got
Okay.
needed. They were in terrible condition when we got them. They had little minuscule fractures all through their
Sort of
bodies.
like having osteoporosis from
Yeah,
not
the
getting
opposite.
calcium.
It's the same idea, only when they're young, it's called metabolic bone disease.
Okay. So will that improve? Or
We're hoping that they're releasable. Now that we've had them through the winter, they're going to be going in the next few days out into a flight enclosure, and we'll see if they've regained bone strength.
Okay.
If not, we're going to try and place them with a zoo where they can have more room than this.
Okay.
But they had to be kept confined until their bones got stronger, or they would just do terrible damage. They're lovely birds, and they will do well in a zoo environment, but we'd prefer to get them back out into the wild.
Well, you know, I think some people might ask, there's so many animals out in the wild. Why is it worth saving these ones?
Good question. Wildlife rehab is a lot of money and a lot of work. There are a couple reasons why it's good. First of all, to the people that find the animals, it matters. The gentleman who drove an hour and a half with a baby squirrel, it mattered to him. And the old starfish story, it matters to the squirrel.
Sure.
Third, we are able to monitor for diseases out there. And that's a very important function. We protect people from disease. Those foxes that people are bringing in, the raccoons that people bring in, they might try and take care of at home if we weren't here. And if they do that, they could be contracting all kinds of parasites and diseases. So we are a health safety net for the public. And that is a really important part of our function. And we also provide education. And lastly, I get more experience. And the more experience I have working with common animals, when the endangered species comes in, I can put that experience to work where it really counts.
What do you say to people, you know, as a kid, I was out in the woods and found the little squirrel or the bird with the broken wing, and I would take it inside and put it in a shoebox. What do you say to people who want to do that? Because there's a part of you that you want to help and you think you can help, but your backyard isn't always the best place for this animal.
Right. Well, if they're calling us, then it means that they care, and we can kind of convince them that they're caring for the animal. We want to do what's best for the animal, and what's best for the animal is, especially here, when they can be raised in groups, they do far better than a single would ever do. We always get animals in with others as soon as we possibly can, and we also have appropriate formulas. They don't have access to those formulas. They're only sold to people who have licenses. And we don't want people to get sick. And we didn't know about those diseases back then. And people got sick.